Hands getting all the snacks.
Okay, good evening, Rabbi Isai. Welcome to our Pnimis HaTorah podcast. Mayor, you're supposed to smile. Mayor, you're supposed to smile.
I gotta go make a tea and get some fruit right now because I finished my dinner just now.
Okay.
My delivery of refreshments didn't arrive yet.
These guys are a little frozen. Okay. Shkoyach. Okay, so start as we'll say a word about Elul and try to tie it into Rosh Hashanah, and maybe we'll get to the parsha a little bit. Tonight is Tesvav Elul.
This week's parsha.
Kisavai. So you have as Tesvav Elul. We're holding Tesvav Elul.
Tesvav is tomorrow. Yeah, tonight.
As everybody knows, every Chodesh has its own segula, its own avoda, its own midah, its own koyach, we'll say. And the greatest koyach of the month is always the middle of the month, on Yom Tezvav. So anything we talk about Elul that exists the entire month of Elul, really it sort of reaches its zenith, right, on Tezvav. Elul is a man that we know there's many Rashi Tevis for it, but Ani L'Doidi V'Doidi Li, which is a big chiddush to say that Elul is Ani L'Doidi V'Doidi Li, because we think about Elul is Hachana for Tishrei, Yom Hadin, and typically you're not typically very, very scared of your Doidim. With Doidim you feel a sense of Ava. So the goal of tonight's podcast is to try to frame our Elul and our Rosh Hashanah in a way that we embrace the days rather than run away from the days. I remember years ago hearing a story about the Bachar in Yeshiva who had a real Yeshiva She'elul. He ran from Shmuz to Musar Shmuz. He learned a tremendous amount of Musar, and he went from one Shmuz to another Shmuz. And I'm not putting down Musar, not putting down the Shmuzim, but the way he did it was unhealthy, this poor guy. And by the time Rosh Hashanah came, he was so depressed, he slept for 2 days straight. And he missed the entire Rosh Hashanah. So obviously, there's healthy ways of doing it and unhealthy ways. And obviously you need a little carrot, you need a little stick along with the carrot. I'm not going to provide the stick, I'm going to provide the carrot. And I'm going to let your fear of Yom Adin and the San Taikif provide the tzitr, and the shofar provides the tzitr.
I'm sure this year it's going to be very meaningful for everybody.
Yeah. So the the vart I've said over in the past, I don't know if I made it to this group of shiurim. It's from the Imrei Noyam of Jikiv, Rameir Horowitz of Jikiv, who says the following vart about Elul. The pasuk says, we're going to say the next week's Haftarah. The pasuk is in Yeshaya. Vayomer ach am yehema banim lo yishakeru. Vayi lehem l'Moshiach. Kadosh Baruch Hu says that Klal Yisrael are His children, right? That we don't veer off what we're supposed to be doing. Vayi lehem l'Moshiach. Hashem is going to save us. And then it says, B'chol tzarasam lo yitzar u'malach panav hayshiyam. It says B'chol tzarasam, and all the tzaras that Klal Yisrael Chas Shalom goes through. Loi tsar. So there's a Korean ksiv on the word loi. Loi with a vav and loi with an aleph. Loi with a vav.
Loi with an aleph.
Loi mit a vav is b'chol tzarasam loi tsar, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is mishtatif in our tsar. When we have tsar, Kaviyachal Kadosh Baruch Hu, to Him is the tsar. Loi tsar, to Him is the tsar. The ksiv, it's actually written with an aleph, right? Which the type should be b'chol tzarasam loi tsar. That when Klal Yisrael has tzaros, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not have tzaros. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's kilu, he's not mishtatif in our tsar fully. He'll save us, but he's not being mishtatev in our tsar. What's the difference between the Kri and the Ksiv? What are these two bechinas? I mean, if you have a Kri and a Ksiv, they both have a Havana, right? We've learned it many times in Masech HaSukkah, Yeshem LeMisiris, Yeshem LeMikra. LeMisiris, Taisa tells us Avada, there's Yeshem LeMikra and LeMisiris. Machlekes is only when there's a steer between the Mikra and the Misiris. But Avada, when you have Mikra Misiris, right? Avada, they both have Havana. So the pasuk Zakti Meinayim is describing us two Hanhagas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's Hanhaga of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he's feeling so connected to us, which is the Hanhaga of Av and Ben, Avinu of Harachamon, right? They were Banim Atem Lashem Lekechem. And as we know, if a child of a person, Chas v'Shalom, is in a difficult matziv, so the father feels it's tsar, kilo it's his tzara. B'chol sarosam loy tsar is when Klal Yisrael is bechin of Banim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have that sense, that connection of Ahava. So then, B'chol Tzarasam Lo Tzar HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Lo Mitavav, he appreciates the Tzara as being his own. The B'chol Tzarasam Lo Tzar with an Aleph, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not fully appreciate Unzra Tzar, is when our relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Bechin of Avadim. Right? We say in Rosh Hashanah, Im Kevanim, Im Kavadim. There's two relationships we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We say Avinu Malkeinu. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our Av, and he's our Melech. When he's our Av, we're Banim. When he's our Melech, we're Avadim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Misyachas to us, B'teres Avadim. So then Avad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, an Adin cares about his Eved. He needs his Eved. His Eved is very integral to him. He's important. He's responsible for his Eved. However, the emotional connection is not there. Mimela, when an Eved is Bitzar, his Adin may help him, but doesn't feel the same emotional distress. So these are the two bechinas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's connection to us. B'chal tzarasam lo yitzar mitavav in bechinas ben, and b'chal tzarasam lo yitzar with an aleph with an aleph is bechinas eved. Zakta imei noyim azay. We have times of the year that naturally mitzad the times of the year the anhaga HaKadosh Baruch Hu has with us is more of adain eved. When it's a time of year, it's a low point of the year. And we all know the low point of the year is the Tammuz of part of the year. And those times of the year, Klal Yisrael are Bechinus of Avadim. And that's why when it was a Bechin of an Eved, there could be Chas v'Shalom more Chorban, right? When it comes to when a Bechinus of a Ben HaKadosh Baruch will never be, cannot, L'chayr HaKadosh Baruch will not make Chorban when there's a Hanag of Av and Ben. Hashem came when there's Hanag of Eved. By Eved Shaykh, the months of Tammuz and Av. So Zakti Minayim Azay. When does the Hanhag of Eved begin? At what point in the calendar does the Hanhag of Eved begin? He says it begins once Shavuos passes. It's all downhill. Right? Basically, once Shavuos passes, downhill. So Tammuz Av. Shavuos is the beginning of Sivan. However, Shavuos has 7 days of Tashlumin. Right, the Nusach Sfar doesn't say Tachanun for a week after Shavuos because Shavuos has 7 days to it. Because the Gemara says the Gemara says that the Chagiga has a Tashlumin, just like you could bring the Karma Chagiga and other Yom Tovim for 7 days. So too, Shavuos you can bring the Chagiga 7 days, even though Shavuos is a 1 day Yontif, but you have 7 days for the Chagiga. So the Tashlumin for Shavuos till Yud Gimel. Till Yud Gimel Sivan. Okay, so he says once Yud Gimel Sivan passes and all the hashpahs of the Yom Tovim of starts Yom Tovim start from Sukkot to Chanukah, connects to Purim, Tu B'Shvat, Purim, Pesach, Shavuos. Those are the up times of the year. I left out El Badavka and Rosh Hashanah. And then once we hit Shavuos and the Tashlum of Shavuos passes, so then we're already settling down, heading downhill into the Yemei Tammuz and Av. Zakta Shemish Shmuel Azeh. How many days are there from Yud Gimel Sivan until from Yud Gimel Sivan until Rosh Chodesh Elul?
Sivan. Sivan. Tammuz Av is 16.
47.
Yud Gimel to the end of Sivan is, let's say, 17.
Let's say for argument's sake it's 16.
And how many days into Elul?
To
what day in Elul?
No, it's till Rosh Chodesh Elul.
Rosh Chodesh Elul, so 77.
Through Av.
A day or two.
76. Let's say for argument's sake, let's say it's 76.
Fits better with 76.
Okay?
Okay, 76.
30, 29, and
17.
17.
What happens if it goes through February that has 29 days?
That's for a different smooth.
So what happens is
February's not in Tammuz or Av.
I already have a lot of editing to do. The comes along the Imrei Naim, and he says, how many days are there from when we start heading downhill after Shavuos until through Tammuz and Av? 76 days. What is 76 Bigamatria?
Av.
Ayin Vav. But if you take the Vav and you break it down to a 2 and a 4, what do you get? Eved. He says the Yimei of Avdus go from the end of the Tashlumin of Shavuos until Tammuz and Av. Comes Elul, from Elul till after Sukkot is how many days?
Elul is also 76.
Elul to after Sukkot. Elul is 30 and Sukkot is Chav Gimel.
Huh?
53, give or take.
It's 52.
52.
It's got to work with the Gemara.
It's 52. B'Gratya Ben. Comes along the Imrei Naim and says, you know what happens when Elul comes? Klal Yisrael all of a sudden gets into the sweet spot in the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu of Av and Ben. And it switches over in Rosh Chodesh Elul. He says, why is Elul called Elul? Because what is Elul? It's a Lamed with an Aleph.
Elul is 60 is 67.
Not to forget the Gematria. It's a Lamed with an Aleph, and it's a Lamed with a Vav. The Chal Sarai, some light star, the Lamed with an Aleph, which is Bechinas Eved, switches over to a Lamed and a Vav, which is Bechinas Ben. So Rosh Chodesh Elul is man.
Having a bad connection here.
Rosh Chodesh Elul.
Am I the only one hearing that buzzing?
Yes, it's just you. It's your hearing aid, Sadi.
Does know that we're all here live, right?
Okay, so that's what the Imrei Naim says. That's Elul. Elul is this man where.
I hear it.
Okay, are you with me? You guys here?
The internet connection's unstable.
It's just muted.
Stable. And I thought I was the only unstable person.
Not for you.
It's good? Is it okay? You hear me now, Rabbi Say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a rough Imrei Naim. Kumtais, what is Elul? Elul is a breakout to a new Anhaga of Ben. Mahatzach Tezva of Elul. Tezva of Elul is a super time to appreciate this, the Kayach of the month and this relationship that was Neschadish and Elul of Bechinas Ben. Okay, that is a little hakdama on Chodesh Elul. Let's talk about moving into to try to expand the sense of Bechinas Ben, this positive, warm sense of Elul to our Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and this is haven't really said this yet, so let's hope it comes out okay. And Ari, you'll edit it, then you'll dub in something that makes sense afterwards if it doesn't. There's a kavana in Shemona Esrei that is an unbelievable kavana that is kedai for every person to think about, whether you mechaven the oisius and the shemus of the kavana. But it's a kavana that the Zohar says is imperative upon every yid to mechaven when he daven Shemona Esrei. And that is the kavana of the 4 kriyos v'ishtachavoyos in Shemona Esrei. We bow down 4 times in Shemona Esrei, twice in Magen Avram and twice in Maidim. And the kavana that you're supposed to be mechaven when you bow down 4 times, if you see the number 4, you know what 4 is? 4 is always what?
The mamas.
4, I was going to think about making a joke also like that, believe it or not. You have to stop reading my mind. 4 is always, anytime you see 4 in Torah, it's Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Not only is it Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yud Kei Vav Kei is not only Yud Kei Vav Kei. We have the Kriya of Yud Kei Vav. We have the Ksiv of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Like Moshe Ani Nichtav Ani Nikra. You have the Kriya of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Aleph Daled. Okay, so when you see 4 is always Yud Kei Vav Kei, and it's always going to correspond with the Kriya of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Aleph Daled. So the Kavanah when you bow is as follows. Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei is Kadosh Baruch Hu Midas HaChesed, the Mashpia. The Shem of Aleph Daled is Keneged the Shechina, right? Which we'll say is Yud Kei Vav Kei. We'll say is Shemayim. Aleph Daled is Aretz, and the Kaviyach Hakadosh Baruch Hu rests his kedusha amongst us. The Shechina is Shaira amongst Klal Yisrael. Huh? We're going to get to the din part of it, but Aleph Daled is din. Yes, it's Malchus and it's din. Here, that gets us to the Rosh Hashanah part of Rosh Muz. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shakal yibadai.
Amen.
So the kavanah is as when you do the first bow, it's connected the first ice of Shem Havaya and the first ice of Shem Aleph Daled. So you're supposed to be mechaven that the Yud of Yud Kei Vav Kei bows towards the Aleph of Aleph Daled, and it lifts it up. It gives an aliyah to the Shechina. We know the Shechina is begalusa. We know our whole avodah is liyachid kutcher b'chush Shechina, to make a connection of godliness in Olam Hazeh. We have to bring kedusha to Olam Hazeh. Olam Hazeh is mali kedusha. It's just very hidden, and our job is to make the connection between the two, because the Yetzer Hara is saying there's no connection, right? And our job is to make that connection. And the kavanah of the first kriya is the Yud to the Aleph, raising up the Aleph, the K to the Daled, raising up the Daled, the Vav to the Nun, raising up the Nun, the K to the Yud, raising up the Yud. Okay, and this is the kavanah of the 4 kriyas, the kriyas v'shtach havayos. The Zohar says azay, if a person is not mechaven this, about them is said the pasuk in Eicha, Nisanani Hashem, it's written on Aleph Daled, Nisanani Aleph Daled, Bidei Loi Uchal Kum. Okay, meaning you're putting Aleph Daled, which is Shechina, B'tachtonim, you are placing it, you are neglecting it, you are ignoring it in a place Bidei Loi Uchal Kum, where it can't have a tekuma, can't get up. Meaning, when you mechaven correctly, you're kaviyachah bringing up the Shechina, and when you neglect to have this kavanah, unfortunately, you're neglecting Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Klal Yisrael is empowered with a tremendous amount of koyach in all our avodah, and this kavanah is meant to be brought out in the avodah of kriyas v'shtach havayis and Shemoneh Esrei, that we have the opportunity to kaviyachah raise the Shechina and to make this tremendous sense of hashpah and hatava to the world. And if you don't, you're leaving a tremendous amount of hatava that you could do kaviyachah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Al Hashem. And Kila, the Shechina is sitting and crying to you. What are you doing? You're forgetting about me. You're sitting here. I give you the keys to the world. I give you a Shemoneh Esrei and the right to turn over the world, and you're totally not focusing on what you're able to accomplish. So that's the kavanah. With this kavanah in mind, just our responsibility. Kaviyachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachal is dependent on us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made himself, I'll say Kaviyachal 1,000 times just whenever I leave it out, so add it in. He made himself vulnerable to us. He made a world. He was Sharish Shechina over here. And he says, I'm leaving it up to you to help me out, because if you don't, I'm stuck over here. Nisanani b'dei lo yuchal kum. Only through Klal Yisrael, only Klal Yisrael can accomplish this hatava to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin. What is Yom Hadin? Yom Hadin means HaKadosh Baruch Hu is acting b'midas hadin. Midas hadin is, like Ari said previously, is this midah of Aleph Daled. Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yud Kei Vav Kei is Kula Chesed. There's no room for din when HaKadosh Baruch Hu means Chesed. When you say HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah it's a Yom Hadin, what does it mean? It's not by any. It's not a coincidence that Rosh Hashanah is the day of Brias Ha'olam, Eretz HaTachton, and it's a Yom Hadin, because the Bria of Aretz, which is Bereshis Bara L'Kim Hashemayim V'Sa'aretz, that Bria is this musig of HaKadosh Baruch Hu being Sharish China B'Tachtonim. That is the uftu of the whole Bria, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol made a world, and he Kaviyachol handed himself over, and he made himself vulnerable, and he made himself dependent on us, because that's what we just described, the Shem Aleph Daled, right? This Shem Aleph Daled, which is a Midas Hadin, I'll just say it a little. I'll just say it from a little different angle. Who does din? The Melech does din, right? Dina the Malchusa Dina, right? Din is a responsibility of the Malchus, right? You should always have Yispal b'Shloim Shel Malchus, Shemali Merish Shel Malchus. Esrei Chaim B'loi. There will be no din in this world, right? So din is a function of the Midas HaMalchus. You know what's unique about the Midah of Malchus? It's totally dependent, right? Midas HaMalchus is less limig armei klum. It has nothing on its own. It's only what the people provide to it. Ein melech b'li am. There's no nation. There's no melech. So we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yoshev B'din, right? And he's exercising Midas HaMalchus. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is kilu on this day making us is on the one hand he's donning us, but me'idach gisa he's making himself totally vulnerable to us. What do we do on such a day? We don't run scared. We say, this is your day of Malchus. Okay, you made yourself vulnerable on this day. We are going to pick you up on this day, b'mamlech you. So our avodah on the Yom Hadin is not relating to the din b'tar scared. He's being he's judging us. Our avodah on the Yom Hadin is a sense of responsibility. HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Yom Hadin, this is where he's rested his shechina in Olam Hazeh. Shem Aleph Daled needs a tekuma, and the only people that can do it is us. Klal Yisrael gets up, stand on the chairs, and they scream at the top of the lungs, right? Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimlech, L'olam V'ad, right? That becomes our avodah, right? Because that's how we provide HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Klal Yisrael, we don't live in this world as victims, you know. We don't live in this world as people that are just, waiting to get through life, to be makablim. Klal Yisrael, we live in this world as producers, as doers, right? Memela, our avodah Yom Hadin is not to be makabel the din. Our avodah Yom Hadin is to relate to Midas HaMalchus of it. When we relate to Midas HaMalchus of it, avada, right, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu has that tekuma, you know what happens when he has that tekuma? All of a sudden, the Midas Hadin is nepach, the Midas HaChesed, because you just raised the madrega from Olam Hazeh, and you made it, and you raised it. You made this connection of the kriyas v'shtachavos that we described, and when you have that connection, what rules at that point? Midas HaChesed. And in Mela, that's what happens in Rosh Hashanah through the avodah of shofar and through our avodah b'mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We affect the din, that instead of it being a din b'tayras, something that we have to be afraid of, it becomes a connection of chesed. And that's the kavan of shofar. They're mechavan through the kiyah shofar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should get off the midas hadin, off the kisei hadin, and onto kisei rachmim, because this is our avodah by b'mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The
So we shouldn't be focusing on the next year. Why is this always focused on davening for your well-being for the next year?
Their emphasis there isn't so much focus. The only place I really talk about is in Sana Taikif, which is written by the Rishonim.
There really does more.
We do have the Avinu Malkeinu, you know what I'm saying, but that's not the where the Iker is the Shemoneh Esrei,
So what's the differentiation between the bowings all year round and Rosh Hashanah?
I'm unaware.
Or even more so, and should be on Rosh Hashanah. Meaning, according to your
right. I'm unaware there's
Hashem and
differentiation.
Adnas,
It would be consistent with Rosh Hashanah also. I mean, it's avoid the whole year, but Rosh Hashanah that's
more so.
even more so. Yeah, because that's the Yom Adin. That's the day. Why is Yom Adin? Because Aguva. That's the day Aretz is made, and that's where this Bechina was Nisgala.
The day the Aretz is made was Chesed. Then why is there?
Huh?
The day that the world was created was Kulei Chesed.
Ultimately,
or we didn't say the Mitzvah needed to be.
Ultimately, the whole world is a creation of Din, because the whole world is Tzimtzum. The whole world is Hester. The whole world is lacking. Ultimately, there wouldn't be no Tachlis Abriya. If you walked out, if you got up in the morning, you saw Chesed Hashem all over the place, right? There would be no Bechira. There would be no Avodah. Our Avodah is to wake up in the morning, say it's dark outside, I feel like 2 cents. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? That's Ayel Mazeh. When the going gets tough, the Yidden of Malach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we start our day with a Maidani. I just feel ice with a Vart that's sort of in the same flavor of the Vart, which sort of describes. I'm describing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on one hand, on Rosh Hashanah being very dependent and very most vulnerable on us, when his whole Bechina is Midas Hadin, and he's the Bechina of Malchus. He becomes totally dependent on us, Kaviyachol. And what do? Do we take advantage of it? No, right? If you're a guy, you try to take advantage of it quickly. Okay, let's build a Migdal Bavel and try to like turn everything against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Klal Yisrael has a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then we immediately, right, we back HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that avodah. Something like it's just a similar flavor of a vart is from Rab Nachman Breslev. He makes the following ha'ara. He says like this: Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin. Rosh Hashanah is also Rosh Chodesh. He says, very interesting. What's unique about Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh is the one day of the month that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Klal Yisrael, I'm totally desperate for your help. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say in Rosh Chodesh? Tavi alai kapara, shemiati hayareach. You bring the karbanos of Rosh Chodesh, kaviyachal kapara for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he's mimayit the yareach. So Menachem makes the following observation. He says, what a chesed Hashem did to us. He says, he has a Yom Adin, he has to judge us. But on the day that he's judging us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu finds himself in the defendant's box that he needs a kapara. And who's going to give him that kapara? Us. He said, what a great position we are when the dayan is in the defendant's box and he's looking at us, the defendants, please help me out. I need a favor over here. So the Reb Nachman says that on this bechina of the Tavi alai kapar shemiatis hareach. I think in a more expansive view, the way I'm describing it, this whole idea of Tavi alai kapar shemiatis hareach is this idea that we're describing. What does it mean miatatis hareach? What does it mean Hashem made the moon small? It means he made a makabel. He made a hester. The moon was supposed to be a mashpia like the sun. But then there's no world. Right? There's no makam of hester, there's no bechira. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed a void, he needed a makabel, he needed midas hamachos, which is the yareach. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling me, do me a favor. I made this world with hester, with all sorts of chisarn. Fix it up. Let's get things going so I can be made to see for l'neisach nitzachim. So I think Rav Nachman's vart is literally saying the same vart, just focusing on that divrei Chazal, right, and saying it the beautiful way he says it. But I think that's the yesait. B'kitzur, what I'm trying to say is, El is a very special time. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, and he's waiting for us to to interact with a sense of responsibility, just like a father loves a son always looks to see what he can do for a father, and that ultimately is what our pursuit is in the Yom Hadin, is ultimately to be Mamach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to Kaviyachol give HaKadosh Baruch Hu the malchus that he so desperately needs, and he can only get from us. And with this, we tackle Bizaycha to all the brachas that Klal Yisrael gets when we connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the way we are meant to be connected. Shekoyach, Hagit Nacht Aboisai.